over at Unity Village, told me about the black snakes. These huge creatures that sometimes like to come up on the porch and would even at times coil their long bodies around the metal grates on the door to greet you as you come home. And if that was not enough to scare me, then some of my well-intentioned classmates told me about the brown recluse spiders. Have you ever heard about those? If you haven't lived in Missouri, you probably don't know what they are. These are spiders who, when they bit you, would make you very, very sick. Could even actually cause your demise. Now, there were lots and lots of spiders that were living on that porch with me. Spiders of all shapes and sizes and colors, and I had coexisted with them pretty peacefully up to that point, as I had done in Massachusetts. But now the threat of the brown recluse was upon me. But this was not the end of the story. The biggest fear of all was still to come. And it started simply enough with these reports that were coming out of Unity Village of sightings of this mountain lion on the grounds of Unity Village. And also stories of it being seen in the area where I lived. But one day the story of the lion became my reality. The mountain lion had been seen walking down my driveway of my farmhouse at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And it was given by a very reliable source. One of my instructors, Reverend Earl Anderson, was the one who told me. And he didn't know that as he was telling this, that I happened to live in the farmhouse. He was just telling the class the story of seeing this lion. Really, to this day, he has no idea of the terror that he unleashed in my heart that afternoon. You see, my peaceful nature meditations came to a screeching halt. Actually, I even got to the point where I was petrified to leave the farmhouse and walk from the farmhouse. I had to go down this long pathway with trees lining it to get to the driveway where my car was. You can imagine what I thought was lurking in the trees along that path. I was literally consumed by my fear of this lion. I no longer feared the snakes or the spiders. Yes, they could hurt me, but the lion, it could kill me. And I became so scared at one point that I literally seriously considered, returning home to Massachusetts. This is after realizing a 30-year dream of finally becoming a minister. But I was ready to go back to Massachusetts where there were no black snakes, no brown recluse spiders, no mountain lions in your driveway. Now, this was before the time that I had the bears in the backyard. But anyway, I had become literally paralyzed with fear. And this fear was keeping me not only from my back porch and from my car in the driveway. What was it keeping me from? My highest good. You know, my vision, my lifelong dream of being able to have ministry be my vocation, my calling, something that I could do 24/7. Has this ever happened to any of you? Have you ever had a fear? Maybe it's not a mountain lion in the driveway that keeps you from realizing your highest good. But have you ever had any fears that have kept you from your divine purpose, from the realization of your dream? Well, the good news is that this fear of the mountain lion in my driveway, it taught me an invaluable lesson, a lesson that I carry with me to this day. You know, I can make jokes about Facebook. I can put that LOL on because I'm really not scared of the bear in the backyard like I was all those years ago about the mountain lion in the driveway. I have changed. And that's what I want to share with you today. How to overcome imagined fear. Because that's what it is, right? Have I had an encounter with a bear? No, I saw a raccoon. So you got to get a grip. Get a grip. Now, my understanding of how to overcome the fear started one day when I was actually out on the back porch, filled with the terror of the lion. I had even brought this big walking stick with me out there, a stick that I had bought at a Renaissance festival. They have these wonderful Renaissance festivals in Missouri. And so there, you got to see me. I'm standing on the back porch, and I'm looking to the right, looking to the left, in front and back of me for any sign of the dreaded creature. I was so uptight. I was so stressed out that eventually I just got so exhausted with this guard that I was doing, this incredible, intense looking around, that I fell back into one of the chairs, one of the porch chairs, and cried out in desperation, God, God, please help me. Please help me. Please remove this fear from me. And in that moment, the inspiration came. I thought about how I had been sitting on that porch for several months up to that point, and all that I had ever seen every day were those bunnies and the hawks flying overhead and the deer grazing in the pasture, and not one day, not one time had I seen a black snake, had I seen a brown recluse spider, or that dreaded mountain lion. Not once. Yet I had let the imagined fear of meeting these creatures destroy my peace of mind. I thought of the teachings of the Master, of Jesus the Christ. Jesus said over and over and over again to us, what did he say? It was in the meditation. Do not be afraid. Do not fear. Do not be anxious. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus told us, fear not, little flock, for it's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. But do we believe it? Did I believe this when this inspiration first came to me? What do you think? No. Here I am on the porch. I've cried out in desperation. I've got the divine idea. I've received the inspiration. Fear not. Do not be anxious. Do not be afraid. But do I believe it in that moment? No, I go right into arguing. Right into arguing with that universal energy. Because immediately I start thinking about the actual terrifying things that have really happened in my life. Not the events that I've witnessed on TV, but in my life. And I've had some really frightening experiences, as I'm sure all of you have. So I'm saying to God, hey, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? They happened to me. But soon the answer came, and I realized I could just about count them on one hand. At that point, I was 40 years old. Like I said, it was a few years ago. And so in those 40 years, I had lived approximately 14,600 days. And only 14,595 days were actually bad. So that puts it a little in perspective, doesn't it? But with this awareness, I wondered then, how come I'm still afraid? How come any of us are afraid? You know, in Unity, we're taught the law of mind action. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. I like to say thoughts and feelings. You know, those strong feelings that unite with our thoughts, held in mind, in consciousness, okay, produce after their kind. And I've always taken that kind of concretely. So let's take the lion, for example. If I hold this thought of the lion in my mind, then I will manifest it in my physical reality. If I fear it enough, is it going to jump out, attack me, and devour me? You think? As I started to think about it, I realized that I didn't need, folks, to have the actual lion jump out and attack and devour me, did I? No, because the lion was jumping out at me every single day in my mind. Fear thoughts produce after their kind. What? More and more fear thoughts. We live the actual or imagined fearful experience over and over and over again until it becomes our daily reality. You know, if you just look at the news programs on TV, right? I mean, what a better source of fear stories, of imagined fear for us. Actual things that happen to other people, but what effect do they have on you and me? When we hear about that,